Birmingham, Britain's industrial powerhouse. Victorian determination and innovation made solid in grand statements of confidence and wealth. But they covered these grand temples of commerce with references to nature. City forefathers become classical gods updated with symbols of manufacture. Old and new pressed together in a mellow glow of post-imperial slumber, with little room for nature. Cavernous gloom between shards of brilliance and where furnaces of manufacture morph into signposts to temples of pleasure. Steel, glass and titanium replace familiar sandstone, organic in shape if not in spirit. But in the middle of all this structure, within 2 miles of the centre, there are oases of nature. This is one of them, and I have just become a tenant. I've always been interested in nature and the countryside. To have these places where traditional self-sufficiency meets nature, right in the heart of the metropolis, is a real boon. This land must be worth a fortune in present-day real estate value, but their continuance for the next generation is of much greater value, and I'm really excited to be joining a long line of allotmenteers who've kept the common person's right to a plot of land on which to grow their own food, beautiful plants and flowers, or just to potter about and get their hands dirty in a good earth.
Okay, so here we have a fairly large allotment plot. Now, as you can see, it's fairly overgrown, but it's the start of a new project, a new story. It's going to take quite a bit of work. However, with the frosty winters coming, there's very little much we can do, apart from prepare the soil, turn it, and get it ready for the new growth in the spring and summer. The soil is quite clayey, full of stones, full of rocks, so that will need clearing so that the new plants can grow through, and the frost will help to break it down. So we decided to go for a large allotment plot because it's a new project. It gives us space to do whatever. We can fit a lot in there. You know, why restrict ourselves when there's so much potential out here? Really excited for it. It's a great new project. You know, I'm young, it's different. You wouldn't catch a 23-year-old, well, not your norm anyway, with an allotment. Many people I've spoken to, they sort of laugh and snigger it off. That's fine, but this is my project, this is my story, and you'll see as time goes by how it will grow, how it will change, and how I will grow. I will learn so much from it. I can take it to family and friends. I can show them exactly what is out here.
And there's a lot here that'll need to be cleared before I can really start. The plot has gone a bit wild, and although it may look gorgeous and benign in its autumnal glory, there are some big problems that'll need my attention. The previous tenant has used plastic sheeting in an attempt to smother persistent weeds. The plot is thick with notorious couch grass and bindweed, but they still seem to have the upper hand despite having been covered. But there are other potentially bigger problems that need to be addressed before they get too well entrenched. Some parts seem to be out of control, and there's a lot of old growth and structures that need to go too. So, what's the plan? Underneath all this is a plot waiting to be liberated. It's an odd-shaped patch, a wedge of cheddar that's had the nose sliced off, a tangential trapezoid with no parallel sides, It's a large plot hitting the scales at around 200 square metres, pointing north with its finer end. It's bordered by a service road to the north, and there's a concrete slab path running the length of the west side. With a plot this size and the amount of work needed, I've decided to break it up into 3 sensible phases of work. Phases 1, 2 and 3, with space left for a greenhouse and the ever-important compost area. The first phase is a patch of ground near to the road. This will be the pretty flowery bit, my shop window. Phase 2 will see the creation of a series of raised beds for growing herbs, fruit and vegetables. Phase 3, I'm going to cover and smother for the first year whilst concentrating on 1 and 2. Better not to bite off too much at this stage. The plot is quite open. There's a small tree to the east side and a row of larger well-established trees to the south. As the sun passes over during the day, the only area of the plot in shade is to the south end. But this is where the compost and greenhouse are, both of which will benefit from being out of the hot midday sun, supposing we get any, of course.
It's a large triangular pitch, right? So we're going to straighten up the sides. At the beginning we're going to start with a flower bed, we're going to go into a herb bed, so we're going to have some mint, some basil, some chives, get those in the kitchen, mix them in, you know, with your new potato salads and things like that. Then we're going to go into our fruit patches. Now we're going to have raised beds, we're going to have various pathways and things in between, then we're going to break into the vegetable patches. Now we're going to have some runner beans on some big sculptures, you know, on some pines and things like that. And then following we'll have a few strawberry and raspberry pitches. Then at the back we'll have the greenhouse, we'll have a water vat as we're going to try and recycle our own water, collect it ourselves. And then we're going to have compost at the back where we'll grow our rhubarb. So that's the plan, that's the layout of it. So it's going to be a big triangular fruit, vegetable and a chill out garden, you know, we'll have a table and chairs. And we can bring friends and family here, have a bonfire in the colder months. It's going to be a real great little nature reserve, little garden, little jungle. We'll have bees and butterflies thriving off the lush flowers, you know, the wildflower area we're going to have, in and out of the vegetables and the fruits. It's going to be really great for nature, for ourselves, and to look at. It's going to be fantastic. Lottie's patch. It is my patch. At 23 I have a patch and I'm proud of it. I'm doing this for me, for the family, to show just what is out there, as I have said. You know, this is going to be Lottie's patch and I cannot wait for you all to join me along the way.
So day 2, but it's the first day on the allotment and there's a lot of clearing up to do before we can start to turn the soil. I haven't yet been allocated a lockup, so all tools are brought in daily. I've also enlisted the help of my brother Toby, who's been keen to muck in and help.
Hey guys, I'm Charlotte's brother. We started at, I think it was 11, and we just did basic breaking, getting rid of everything, most of the structures, and then what we did there, we sort of started digging up and turning over the soil.
Many hands make light work. We have to pile all of the previous tenants' bits and bobs up out of the way so that they can be collected easily at a later date. It's a real overgrown mess that has to be removed before we can fully see the site enough to visualise our planned reworking. And there's always a chance that we could find treasure.
Oh, what's this? Potato?
So, down to the real business of digging. To be honest, I've not done much of this before, so my technique is basic and slow. But we're soon chugging along at a good pace. With every spadeful, we see how problematic the bindweed and couch grass is in the allotment. All of this will need to be removed before we can plant. Toby, resourceful as ever, has worked out a novel technique for removing the grass. Well, a girl's got to keep in touch even on the allotment. This may only take off the surface growth, as the roots are still resolutely in the soil, but clearing it away will make the later digging much easier as the spade doesn't have to cut through the grass. All the same, it's back-breaking hard work.
When we take like the weeds out and everything, because it was like hurting my back and everything, and then taking the wheelbarrow, it's got stuck in ditches. It's quite annoying.
So perhaps it's time for a well-earned break.
Standing here with a hot cuppa now, it's been well worth it. It looks like we've only done a small pitch, but actually it's quite a large one, and when you're doing the work, it's quite strenuous. But it's satisfying, it really is. You know, we've picked out the weeds, picked out some grassy bits, we've cleared around the front and our mint bed where our flower bed's going to go. And when we come back throughout the week and the weekends, we'll carry on digging a patch, a square at a time, you know, and then we can start to really see the space we've got to work with and lay the raised beds for our fruit and vegetables. It's been a great day. Light's going down now, it's fading, the sun's going down, it's getting a bit colder. Time to go home for a nice warm dinner. We've met a couple of really, really lovely people here. It's a real great community spirit, great neighbourhood. It is just country village life in the heart of Birmingham. Who would have thought it?
Charlotte, have you got work tomorrow?
7 o'clock in the morning, Father.
I can sleep in. It's going quite well, but now we'll have to sort of finish and wrap it up because the light's sort of going.
I really like the way we've worked together today. We're also having some great ideas about what we're going to do.
This is our next bit to work on, guys.
Are you leaving this like here, or are we just going to completely use it next time?
There's a lovely positive energy and the bond between us is stronger than ever. There are humorous moments too.
Blooper.
Giving Toby an occasion to prove his practical value. With the last barrow load of the day added to the growing compost heap, it's time to pack up and go for a hot shower and a well-deserved dinner. Day 3 and the mammoth dig continues. The area of turned earth is getting noticeably bigger and it doesn't feel quite so daunting. But a hard overnight frost has frozen the soil into a hard crust, which is not easy to get through with a spade, and it slows down the digging significantly.
Okay, so another day, another dig. We've had quite a few bad frosts lately, so we really want to get this dig going so we can get the bulbs in, we can get the soil prepared.
But it's a lovely dry sunny December evening. We're cracking on. We've successfully completed Phase 2's dig and feeling very proud of ourselves. After the frost has thawed, we picked up speed again, getting the area rough dug in an afternoon. The soil is quite good to work, although there is still some roots of couch grass and bindweed. They're more patchy where the previous tenant has previously cultivated. Day 5 and we've turned the soil on Phase 1, the main flower bed by the road. This needs to be done before planting up the bulbs and other perennial border plants. The surface soil is looking quite dry, but when you look more closely, you begin to see how shallow the water table is at this time of year. Pools of water soon form and the soil is horribly gloopy, making working on it quite difficult. Also, the clay content is high, so retention of water along with runoff from higher ground will make some other form of drainage scheme along the eastern border a necessity. And we've yet to explore under the plastic sheeting. Phase 3 is looking a long way off. Well, it may look okay on the surface, but I need to stop the weeds spreading in from off the plot. I decide to line the edge with weed control matting, but almost as soon as I dig the ditch, it starts to fill with water. Luckily, we have plenty of small cobbles around. I add these to the bottom of the ditch to enhance draining away excess water. I've laid out the plants just to get some idea of how the bed may look. Up the rear, I've planted Foxgloves, Fritillaria Crown Imperial, Crocosmia lucifera, and Alium Gladiator to give some height and structure. In front of these are Papaver Oriental Turkish Delight, a hardy bush fuchsia, French lavender, fuchsia thalia, and mixtures of daffodils, tulips, hyacinths, narcissus, smaller alliums, crocuses and cyclamen. Some of these were a bit late in planting, but hopefully we will have a nice display for our first spring and summer in 2015. Well, it's Boxing Day here on Lottie's plot. We've completed all of the plot work I had in mind for December. We've come a long way in 4 weeks, and considering the state of the plot when we started, I think you have to agree that we've made a significant difference. I'm certainly very pleased with our progress and can't wait to get started in the new year.
And all that's left for me to do now is to wish you a happy new gardening year. I hope that you'll join me again next year on Lottie's plot to see how we progress throughout January, the later months and 2015 in whole. So goodbye for now and a happy new year.